Yeah. Especially when it's not your own hair.
Yeah, that's even worse, eh? That reminds me of a time I was in a restaurant back home in Ontario, and
Yeah.
I spilled some soup on my lap, and then I said, "Pardon me, waiter, but I have a soup on my fly." Get it?
Ah, soup on your thigh. Ah.
Fly, yeah. Okay, I'm going to welcome anybody who shows up and watches right from the very beginning. That's the hardest part for us, is the very beginning. But I have already my write-up done on Here Comes Mark and Chris. Cool. So we got a really special episode tonight, and special episode on comedy meteorology report. Okay, cool. I gotta make that publico. There we go. On to Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers. 17,000 people there. So when you do show up here, don't be afraid to hit the thumbs up on the stream there. That's really nice when you do that. And you can hit share, or you can hit subscribe, or you can hit things. Don't hit the space bar, because that'll stop me. Then you won't be able to hear me. So okay, I'm almost ready here. Almost ready, Brandon. How you doing, Brandon Hauk? And we got already Mark and Chris here already. We got them.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Aha!
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to frame this for everybody, because this is the show before the show. It's not actually the show. The show recording starts at 7 p.m. That's what we make our television and radio show. This is the pre-show, but we live stream the pre-show, because why not? Why not? So if that makes any sense. So we got Mark and Chris here, and Chris Calais and Mark Ingalls, and they're currently at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting in Baltimore. So
yes,
yep.
The
last day of it. Yep.
Yeah, we're flying out of DC tomorrow. So
we have here actual meteorologists. So generally the gimmick of the show is you can't tell who's the comedy and who's the meteorology.
Well, that's the goal this time too.
But we can tell by your patch there that you're definitely that's a weather patch. That's definitely
can you see it well enough in the camera?
Maybe put up the camera a little bit.
Float around.
Yeah.
You remember the Chinese? You might remember the Chinese spy balloon that we shot down earlier in 2023.
Right.
So this pissed off quite a few Chinese scientists at the AMS, and there was quite a war of words in the vendor exhibit hall.
Some might call it a Cold War.
Yeah, we almost started a foreign policy incident.
So, which one of you is Mark and which is Chris? Just for everybody's.
I am Mark, and this is Chris.
I'm Chris. Yep.
So you're actual meteorologists, and you're actually. I got things to ask you about tonight too that are kind of funny in regards to this. And we got Brandon Hauk here. We've got a crazy week of weather all over, right? And you look at the big picture, and it's like, okay, there's on any given day, it's like there's tornado outbreaks happening, and record-breaking heat up here, and look at atmospheric river there, and I mean, wow, and I started a fire here finally, but I mean, I've spent most of the last few days without one burning because it's not been actually fucking cold. Once we hit 7 o'clock,
do you think we should start a fire in our hotel room to just get the ambiance going?
Of course.
Then you'd have to do your show from outside after that, and then perhaps even from the inside of a cruiser.
Behind bars, yeah.
Yeah, they don't let you do interviews in jail, unfortunately.
Except over the phone.
So we got some. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Red Hat Linux. Part of going to a conference is getting all the free swag. So we got some Red Hat Linux socks, and I just put them on my hands here so you guys can see them, check them out.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about this more. Come 7.
Look like
basically, Red Hat Linux. We don't use it, but I'll take free stuff any day.
Once we hit 7 o'clock, then we got up to like curtail our language for TV and radio to meet the Canadian broadcasting standards.
Yeah, down here we call it FCC clean. Obviously, you don't have the FCC, but
no, we have the CRTC, and it's much the
CRTC.
same. Yeah, I once got in big trouble at CFRO in Vancouver when I had my show there because I had Fat Joe Satan on my show, and Fat Joe Satan sang. He brought in his acoustic bass and proceeded to sing really obnoxious and offensive punk rock songs, to which I laughed and uttered in between songs. I told Brandon this before. I uttered in between songs, I'm going to get in real trouble for this. And the board of directors really didn't like that because they said, well, A, you could have shut him down, or B, said anything but try to make us look like the bad guy. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I'm not canceled? Okay, cool, great. And that's how that went. Speaking of which, Michael Bublé, have you heard this yet, Brandon? This is the kind of stuff we can talk about right now for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Bublé at the NHL All-Star Game weekend in Toronto, he was exhibiting some very bizarre behavior.
What did he do?
During the team selections, yes. He's one of the co-captains of one of the All-Star teams, right? And his behavior was really weird. So finally, they had like the team, like the little press conference after, and he's trying to answer questions, and he was acting quite strange again. And it turned out, and then he said, my friend microdosed me with mushrooms, and it turned out to be way stronger than he expected. There's Michael Bublé at the NHL All-Star Weekend on national TV, right. And the walls are melting.
It's like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The Egypt kicked in.
Similar experience.
Apparently, the hotel Wi-Fi is not great, so we may be in and out. Just so you know, or as you might say, in and out.
In and out.
Well, we wish we could go over to West Baltimore and be over there for this exchange because you'd probably get to witness us being mugged and maybe some.
Yeah, West Baltimore. So Portland obviously has kind of a negative reputation in some circles after 2020, but Portland's basically fine, and so I kind of came to Baltimore. Baltimore has a pretty bad reputation too, and I kind of came to Baltimore expecting the same thing, that it was actually mostly fine. Well, we used my transit app to go to DC for a day just to dink around and see dead things in the museum and whatnot. And we get back to Baltimore well after dark, and it is not like Portland at all over there.
I bet.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely. I think we were, close to being, mugged if we had proceeded into the projects. But we were just sitting there at the train station, bus station. So
it was. Yes.
Yeah, and that was 7 o'clock at night. So you can imagine at 1 a.m, it's or midnight. It's definitely not the place you want to be.
Oh yeah, and you should see the guys walking around West Quesnel like they're gangsters.
That sounds like that sounds like in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake has a lot of Polynesians, and they'll have the Tongan gangs.
Excellent. Back home, I went home like 10 years ago back to Eastern Ontario, and there was I noticed in Belleville, Ontario, guys, they were walking around, they had the exhaust pants on, and they were B-boys. Just like, I was like, dudes, you're like 20 years behind. Like,
you think that's bad? I saw a woman wearing bell-bottom jeans in downtown Portland last week.
Okay.
The 90s are back, apparently. I know bell-bottoms are before the 90s, but the 90s are back in full force in Oregon.
Well, it could be worse.
So maybe we should mention why we're wearing these beanies.
Yeah, why are you wearing
What does it
Well,
say?
this is this is
complex?
no, this company. There were three major companies there that only do weather satellites and nothing else.
It's a joke.
Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon. We're all there, and we took selfies in front of all these booths.
Yeah.
And the woman at Northrop Grumman was super clear with us. She's like, well, we do so much surveillance, and any surveillance can technically have a weather application to it.
Yeah. So we visited with the dark triad there.
They're like outside. They're outside your house, and they're hearing you talk about the weather, and they're like, "We got
Lockheed Martin sunglasses.
Yeah, we got Lockheed Martin sunglasses, Northrop Grumman beanies, but Raytheon didn't have any swag.
Well, and truthfully, in all war, the weather has played a prominent role, whether the war was justifiable or not.
Right.
Which pretty much almost never is.
All right, I have to refresh this again, I think.
Okay, I got questions for you here, and I'm going to ask you about this again. I'm going to ask you about this again a little later, but are you back? They're here.
We're back.
Did you bump into John Clauser today at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting?
No,
I don't recall that name.
And I was really bummed that Frankie MacDonald was not there.
Yeah, what's up with that?
We're pretty close to his part of the world too.
See, someone today tried to convince me that John Clauser, that anything he thinks about weather is really important. See, he won a Nobel Prize for an experiment he did, right? So here he is. Here's John Clauser, and he's a physicist. He experimented with quantum entanglement. Oh, okay, quantum entanglement before he became a climate change denier. Okay.
Oh wow! No wonder he wasn't there.
Yeah, well, these people are telling me that this guy's opinion really matters on climate and the weather. And wait a second, when was his Nobel Prize? Sure, okay. It was rewarded in 2022 for an experiment they conducted in 1972.
I bet you if you get the program, we can see if he gave a talk.
Yeah, I got the program lying around. I'll grab it.
I am most certain he did not.
Probably not, but you never know. Like, we even like the logo for this year's AMS meeting even is a blatant reference to the existence of climate change. So maybe he boycotted.
I was gonna say, is anybody there? Is anybody at the American Meteorological Society, meteorologists, doubt or deny that climate change is happening?
There's a fair few, though we didn't really run into any this time, but we went to, most of the talks we went to were energy related since we're in the renewable energy industry. So it's pretty hard to be a climate denier and be in renewable energy in general, I think.
Well, I mean, it's possible, but you kind of have to accept a lot of other interesting, conundrums in your life. If you're going to be a climate denier and also be forecasting wind and solar power, it's kind of it's kind of like going. It's kind of like being a missionary, but not being religious.
Well, diverse is good.
Yeah.
But no,
the money's good. I mean, I'm there for the money.
No serious player in meteorology doubts what's happening.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yes.
Well, actually, I take that back. So, do you know WeatherBell, the website that aggregates weather model data?
Joe Bastardi. There you go.
It is owned. I'll show you some of the stuff I have to show later today is on WeatherBell, but that is run in part by Joe Bastardi, and he is a frequent flyer on Fox News and other similar programs. So I would consider him a serious player, but not somebody who is on the climate bandwagon. I guess you could say. I guess he would call it the climate bandwagon.
So let's grab a good shot of Joe Bastardi here, and then let's also grab one of him. He's a bodybuilder, so we'll grab one of him.
Joe the bodybuilder
Set up here. That's very good too. Bodybuilder.
Just make sure it's a Canadian FCC.
Well, we're not technically live yet, so
we're live.
Let's get on this right here.
We're not recording for the show, which I can edit things out after.
I just like to say this is not pornographic unless you're a certain kind of person who's into that. So maybe.
Okay, we have to know now.
So we have this lamp here to kind of illuminate us. I could turn it off.
So there you go. You see it?
Unfortunately,
there you go. Do not tell him that he is wrong about the climate.
Yeah, you'll get your ass kicked. Yeah, and we're not on the 7 o'clock show yet, so I can say that.
I would gladly go that guy.
So, who else is kind of skeptical of climate change in the?
That's kind of the only
community?
person. That's kind of the only person I know of.
What about Ryan Malley's a little bit skeptical.
Ryan Malley kind of toes the line between it's kind of happening, but kind of not. He was a Trump administration secretary of something related to weather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Somebody's at the door.
What's in it for these people?
I don't know. I mean, I think there are.
Sorry, I just want to check your room to make sure it was clean.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yep.
We do room service at 9:45 p.m.
Almost checking in on me. Don't worry.
They heard people talking.
It's a good thing I wasn't here with my wife and we weren't getting down to business, huh?
Really?
Well, so to answer that, actually, I think there are a fair number of people who do not comprehend the severity of climate change for what I believe are very fair reasons. They just don't understand the science. It may have a significant economic impact on them to change, especially somewhere where fossil fuel extraction is a major part of the economy. And I think this is a more nuanced topic in many parts, at least in the United States, and I assume Canada as well. And it's hard to tackle because, I was talking about this with some coworkers. I am all in on climate change stuff, but at the same time, I'm just trying to survive and I'm trying to raise a family. And, I'm not going to pay 3 times as much for some food item or something else. I'm just trying to survive.
Well, there's important to have class analysis, right? And I've had people say that, well, you must have a big truck. You live up in the mountains. Well, of course I fucking do. I have to survive out here. I don't really have.
Right, exactly.
And I was like, I come from a family that on my Haveman side for 500 years, they've been farmers growing potatoes in Holland. Until some of them came. It's not I don't come from people who ever had any influence to make the world the way it is today. On either side of it. Right.
You drive a truck out in the mountains, Joey. You don't drive a truck and let it idle on the freeway and jam traffic for hours every day either.
Right. Yes.
Sure, but
you can make conscious decisions.
Even though I know what's going on in the world, I need to get firewood, and that's what I'm going to do to get it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be fighting climate change very much when I can't even eat or, get out of my bed because I'm so, I haven't eaten in 4 days or whatever, because I don't have any means to get food.
The rich.
But to your point,
the rich should fucking pay for it, not me.
I am on that team. To your point about coming from people who didn't have an impact on the world where it is, I actually did. My mom's side of the family. Have you heard of the Hanford site in Washington State?
The Hanford site.
It's a nuclear.
They manufactured the plutonium that went into nuclear weapons during World War II, and so I guess this sort of idea. I guess my ancestors may or may not have participated in such things. I don't think they were directly involved. There are thousands of people and whatever, but
Yeah.
yes.
No, certainly. I know on my Dutch side, they didn't really participate so much as just get screwed over.
Right, right. Yeah.
And this is Joey's
On
way of saying I did not own any slaves.
Good evening, Imogen.
Well, I was
Hi.
My
say the
dad,
same
We
thing
all
about
know who
my
started slave
ancestors.
trade, Joey. I'm looking at
they
you.
they joined the infantry and fought the Nazis. Right. So did you know
I
the
had
last
nothing to do with
people?
slavery.
You know who the last? Imogen, your audio level is a little low tonight.
Okay,
Just,
cool.
the
I'm not
last
sure
people-
how. My volume is...
The last German unit to capitulate in World War II were weathermen.
Were they the ones in Greenland?
Yeah,
So they probably didn't know.
I think they knew, and they continued to broadcast weather data afterwards when the war ended officially, until someone came and got them 4 months later or whatever. But they didn't codify it; they just left it open.
All right.
So that's how people knew they were there, because there was weather broadcast information coming.
Maybe they want. They're like, the war's over. Come pick us up.
I think so.
Well, to be fair, the little operation that kicked it all off was an attack on a radio station in Poland with that whole operation getting things rolling. So it is kind of neat for it to come full circle back to another little outpost station that has like 9 listeners. So that's kind of an interesting little end to it.
Well, if you guys are really into World War II history and meteorology, which otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it right now, the weather planning for the D-Day invasion is pretty remarkable.
Yes, I want to make I did on my YouTube channel. It's like 25 minutes or something long. Full video on the German weather, the German war for better weather reporting. So that's where I,
We'll have to check that out.
more about these guys in Greenland and places like that.
We're about to crap out again.
And I'm getting buzzers from Frankie. Frankie's coming soon. And I want to make a similar one about D-Day. That was kind of my thinking. Like, so now I've established that the Germans had bad weather forecasting, and how that bad weather forecasting of the Germans is what really caught them with their pants down on D-Day. They thought that storm out in the English Channel was, it was going to be impossible to mount an invasion. The American meteorologists and British meteorologists saw the break in the weather, launched the invasion. All the generals and leadership were in Berlin or on vacation at a country house, unreachable. That's a big reason we got a good foothold.
When they pushed up into Russia, they weren't prepared for the severe temperatures. And what the Russians knew about the cold is how to adjust their equipment, how to fine tune the machinery. In that, with the cold weather, things would seize up. So they knew exactly how to tighten the bolts, loosen the bolts, whatever, so that their equipment wouldn't just die in the cold. Germans didn't know that. They weren't used to the extremity of it. So when they were confronted by the severe cold, all of their tanks seized. The tanks couldn't go through because they didn't know to loosen the bolts to allow for that to happen. So
the plan was to have won the war by the time winter came, and in hindsight, that's laughable.
Good luck planning weather. Good luck planning around the weather. But in terms of the planning that they did do with a lot of the architecture, it was designed to turn into beautiful ruins after fallout. So after things were blown up, they were built to look good in their own death. So with crumbled buildings, they were intended to be as ruins. They were intended to be left and overgrown and become these little sites that people could visit later. They were built with artistic destruction in mind. There's a lot of weird details about all of that. That whole schmoigel was full of weird details.
Frankie's sharing more talk on the atmospheric river that's about to hit, especially California and whatnot, this next week. We got some crazy weather stories going on, and I think there's going to be some pretty big ones after this weekend down there.
Oh yeah.
Who wants to talk about that a little? Brandon, what do you got this week?
What have I got this week? Well, yes, we broke a record high today. We've had some very mild conditions across the province and like Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, getting up to 21 degrees this week. Pretty impressive there as well. And we even had some of us had our first thunderstorm of the year too this week. So it's been an interesting week, and now we're going back to more winter-like reality, and we'll break down the little snowstorm that's coming for us this weekend, which is going to be very nice, beneficial snow for us, southern Alberta.
It is already snowing in the Yukon and northern BC. It's got to come this way a little more. Mark and Chris, so you're from Portland. Talk to us about this week's weather stories that just happened and what's coming for California and Oregon.
Yeah, we the Pacific Northwest had a hurricane force low pressure system. The lowest air pressure that I saw on it was 963 millibars. This sat several hundred kilometers offshore, and it ran north kind of towards southeast Alaska, but it produced heavy rain in Portland. I think it rained quite a bit in Seattle and Vancouver as well. And this week, the storm track is, we've got what we call split flow. And so the storm track is aiming now towards Southern California, and that's going to be pretty significant. And that's some of what I have the images to show about tonight.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, we had flood.
We've been in Baltimore all week, so we can talk to you about Baltimore weather too. But the day we came through, it was about 26 degrees Celsius in Baltimore, which that was a heck of a heat wave. Hit the January all-time monthly record.
No, it tied it for Baltimore, and DC did 27, which broke the January all-time record there.
Yep.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible. We just bring the heat. What can I say?
We bring the heat, yeah.
for two guys suspiciously alone in a hotel room, that is very hot. Just saying.
Yeah, don't read into that more than you need to.
We have separate beds.
I don't need to. I choose to.
You can use your imagination however you'd like, but we do have separate beds. Yeah.
We specifically requested that in the notes because it was like hotel's choice, and we're like, can we have separate beds, please?
I've known him for about 15 years, so we're cool. Yeah,
not that cool.
Yeah, not that cool.
At a weather conference, you have to be clear about this.
Yes.
Sometimes you gotta spoon for warmth. You know, if they turn the heat off to this building, we're gonna be hurting. You know?
Well, not this week. It's pretty warm here. We've got the air conditioner on. I have it set to 19, and it turns on pretty frequently.
So Baltimore uses.
1994, I was down to Washington D.C. when I went down to 40 below.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have not that.
Okay.
Yep.
Frankie, you're here, buddy.
Yes.
Excellent. You ready to start recording the show? And just so Mark and Chris are aware, generally what we do is I launch in, I introduce everybody. Because you're new, we'll give you kind of like a couple minutes where we'll sort of frame what we're going to do tonight.
We got two stubborn storms, one in Nova Scotia, other in California. That's in it.
And then we give Frankie his segment at the top of the show, basically. So, okay. Good morning, Prince George, and good afternoon, Winnipeg. Hello to listeners in Kamloops and to viewers on Rogers Television. If you're catching us on C4 88.7 FM in Prince George, CKUW 95.9 in Winnipeg, or CFBX 92.5 FM. You know when you're trying to talk, but then saliva starts coming out of the weird side of your mouth, and then you're like, that's how I'm starting my show tonight, with weird saliva thing. What a great show we have tonight. Okay, this is crazy things that have been happening all over North America this last week, weather-wise, and more crazy to come still for particularly Southern California. We have with us their usual panel of meteorologists, with Frankie McDonald, the world's greatest weatherman out there in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Brandon Hauk, our weatherman in Brooks, Alberta. Imogen Cookie Bailey, our associate producer down in Victoria, British Columbia, and Hilding Donaldson. But also we have special guests tonight in Mark Engels and Chris Calais. And they are meteorologists from the Pacific Northwest. They're from Portland. And they are currently at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting that's taking place in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm not sure if they can hear me right now because the internet keeps cutting out at the hotel. Mark and Chris, can you hear me?
We are back for now.
That's Mark, and there's Chris with the glasses, and they both have glasses actually. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And
happy to be here.
Yep.
And briefly, we'll come back to you, of course, but briefly, what's going on at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting?
Well, there were a lot of talks. We are in renewable energy, so we focused kind of on that. But there were a lot of talks on AI, a lot of talks on atmospheric rivers, which are a big deal, of course, on the U.S. and Canadian West Coast. And there was a lot of swag, so we'll talk a little bit about that too.
Excellent. So we'll be with them in a few minutes. But of course, at the top of the show, as per usual, standing outside in the middle of the street in Sydney, Nova Scotia, stealing Wi-Fi at A&W is Frankie McDonald. And some nice ladies.
And what about the meteorologists in Oregon?
You guys are great. There's a big storm coming up.
And the big storm in Los Angeles as well.
A big storm in Los Angeles?
Hi, ladies. Welcome to the Comedeorological Report, Comedy Plus Meteorology. It's your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada, eh?
Yeah, it really does suck.
And now Los Angeles.
And now Los Angeles.
Okay, Frankie. So there's Frankie McDonald. He's stealing Wi-Fi outside Sydney, Nova Scotia's A&W. How you doing, Frankie?
I'm doing great so far. There's an odd weather pattern in effect. There's a stubborn low-pressure system and stormy weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Nova Scotia, and Los Angeles getting a lot of rain on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well. 2 different stubborn storms. One in Nova Scotia, other in California.
Talk to us, Frankie. Talk to us about what's happened this week and what's to come.
There's one storm heading for Nova Scotia and the other heading for California. Double storm.
It's double storm time, Frankie. What else?
And it's going to bring lots of rain. New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas, those places. There's a big storm heading for Florida on Monday. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in the state of Florida and places like this.
Excellent. What else, Frankie? What's going on in the world?
Lots of storms coming off the coast of Japan right now. And there's a blocking high up in around the northern Quebec and those places right now. There's another storm developing in Florida that's causing a lot of blocking. There's a storm in Bermuda too. And up in there's a lot of rain going on in London, United Kingdom right now. And South Africa, lots of thunderstorms, rain going on in Central America, South America, like Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and all those places as well. Lots of stormy weather going on in Europe too. And weather, what's the weather for Europe? And over in Europe, lots of snow up in Norway and lots of rain in the coastal areas of Norway. There's a big warm air in England right now. Then it got lots of warm air hitting towards England. It's really, really dry in the United Kingdom. Then except for far northern Scotland right now, it's really warm in France and Spain and Portugal. Even Morocco and Algeria and Libya and all those places right now. Then it got some cold weather in eastern Turkey and Syria and those places. Then it got snow headed towards Syria next week as well. Then Moscow, Russia's getting really, really cold weather, including Sochi, Russia. Even Syria's getting really cold weather, parts of Lebanon and those places. As of right now. And Mongolia is really, really cold. And Siberia right now is really, really cold right now. There are storms coming off the coast of Japan. One storm right after another coming off the coast of China. There's odd weather. In fact, China's supposed to be in a dry season. There's a lot of rain right now coming off the coast of China. There's serious rainstorms hitting Hong Kong and those places right now. And Philippines, southern Philippines, there's lots of rain thunderstorms right now. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Indonesia right now. Over in India, it's really, really dry in India right now. Places like Sri Lanka, there's lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Sri Lanka right now. In southern Africa, it's lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Botswana. It's really dry in Botswana right now. Zimbabwe, Zambia, and southern Congo, and Namibia, and Angola. Lots of thunderstorms and rain going on right now. And lots of rain going on in Namibia and Angola and Gabon and all those places. And so West Pacific, like there's a cyclone hitting there's another cyclone hitting northern Australia right now. There's gonna remnants is gonna hit towards Invercargill, New Zealand next week as well. And there's supposed to be a big cyclone around February 17th too far to tell yet. There's lots of rain going on in northern Australia as right now. Lots of stormy weather in New Zealand too, and cold air coming all the way from Antarctica and going all the way up to places like up in North Island, New Zealand, like Auckland, Gisborne, Hamilton, including New Plymouth and all those places in Hamilton, Nelson, Gracemouth, and Christchurch are getting rain there right now, and even Invercargill, New Zealand. Antarctica will be starting to get some darkness this month and the next month. There'll be darkness will return to Antarctica, and daylight will return up in the Arctic.
Excellent, Frankie. Guess who's just signed in to join us for the show tonight?
Brian.
Yeah, Brian Schmidt from Portland Weather Uncensored. So we got Portland heavy show tonight. That's great. That's great. So we'll have him. He's still kind of having trouble joining or something like that.
Hey, what about the big storms in Nova Scotia and California?
We will talk about that in 1 minute, Frankie. But what's going on in outer space?
Right now, an asteroid 2024 BP1 headed towards the Earth on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. It's going to bypass the Earth. That's going to trigger a lot of earthquakes.
There you go, Frankie McDonald. Anybody on the panel have questions for Frankie McDonald Jr.?
I am interested to know how big the asteroid is.
It's a pretty big one. It's going to bypass the Earth. It may trigger a lot of earthquakes.
Questions for Frankie. Hey, Brian. Good to see you, buddy. Been a while.
Hello.
Hey, Brian, how's the Los Angeles looking on Sunday for the whole week next week?
I have to do a bunch of updates to get on.
What are we hearing? What just happened?
Echo.
Awesome.
Okay.
What about the Los Angeles weather next week?
Sounds like there's a reverb problem over there at Brian's house there for a minute that he's gonna sort out. Any other questions for Frank McDonald?
Oh, absolutely. Frankie Mac. I got a question for you, bud. Okay, so on the outside of our solar system, the planet WASP 76b. So it's about 640 light years away. It's hidden away in the constellation Pisces. Now, on this massive, mega-sized exoplanet, it actually rains iron. The atmosphere is so dense that it rains giant iron pellets and boulders. We get weeny little ice crystals and hail and snow and drizzle. They get iron. This is the most heavy metal planet ever. Now, the question I have is, how big would a shark on that planet have to be to tail swat an iron boulder the size of a soccer ball out of the air? And can they play ping pong?
It's a pretty big one.
Are we talking megalodon, or are we talking like, pterodactyl-sized dinosaurs?
I don't believe a shark could survive on a planet like that. Not in the current shark-like state that they have on Earth. There would have to be some sort of iron.
Mega sharks, right?
Iron kind of heavy shark, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it can rain diamonds on a planet within our solar system, there's no reason why we cannot have sharks on a planet that rains iron. Now, these are obviously adapted sharks. This is part of the magic of evolution and the evolutionary process in which they exist on this planet. This is the world in which I live, where this is possible. We're out there in the constellation Pisces, WASP 76b. It rains iron. This is, you can look this up on the NASA website or whatever. Google it. You'll find all sorts of, actual science-backed stuff. I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. Yeah. But if there's to be life on other planets, then surely there can be sharks. And there's no reason why. We just don't know about this because we cannot actually get there. So it is theoretically possible that sharks exist on this planet. And I'm just curious how big a shark would have to be able to tail swat an iron boulder the size of a soccer ball out of the air.
Well, we know for a fact there might have been sharks once upon a time in Mars.
Well, yeah.
talk about the atmospheric river. Frankie's got questions. What about Los Angeles this week? What about the atmospheric river that just happened? In British Columbia, we had boulders rolling onto roads the size of Volkswagens. We had thunderstorms in the middle of the night, severe wind blast taking out 10,000 customers' power in Prince George. We had floods in Pemberton and other places, high river flows, flooding on Vancouver Island. And on top of that, record high temperatures all across Western Canada. And I mean, we could open up the discussion and look at some of those high temperatures, but I don't know if we have to. I think people know how many records were broken. A lot. Who wants to talk about the story?
Give me just a minute. I'm going to pull up a map.
Ooh, excellent.
You know, one thing I noticed before the atmospheric river happened, I was looking at upper level winds, you know, jet streams at the highest level. And there was one that was going from like the other side of Europe all the way around the world and pointing right at British Columbia. It was really quite something.
I love the Chris.
All right, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Steve.
Always.
All right, let's
go.
Gosh dang it, how does this work? We should have tested this out before we started, eh?
Well, those are the windows you have open.
Okay, remember.
Should have a little share screen at the bottom there.
There we go. Oh, the computer won't let us do it. That's so disappointing. That's what we get for using a work computer. All right, well.
That's the technology we have.
We're gonna pretend that. So what we had was the major low pressure system off the coast of Washington and Oregon and British Columbia. It had hurricane force winds, but it was several hundred kilometers offshore, not just several kilometers. And the nature of low pressure systems, the air rotates counterclockwise around them, and so it pulls that warm air and that moisture up from the south, and the storm was big enough to tap into tropical moisture. You know, those of us who are older than about 10 will remember the term Pineapple Express, and I think this would be a good candidate for a Pineapple Express type. All Pineapple Expresses are atmospheric rivers, but not all atmospheric rivers are Pineapple Expresses. But because it's tapped from the subtropical Pacific Ocean, it makes it quite warm, and it's, you know, quite moist on Vancouver Island and in the Coast Range and down into Washington and Oregon.
And now it's turning it, so we've got kind of 2 weak storms that are sort of hanging around still, re-emerging and aiming to California.
Right, so we have what we call split flow, which this is a more typical El Nino pattern. And since I can't show the map, I'll just describe it. Basically, the jet stream, which is
Did you act it out?
Yes, the jet stream, which is up at where the planes fly. Normally, it's not normally, but often it's one continuous line, and it'll have waves on it on the map and whatever, and it'll go across the Pacific and North America and Europe and Asia and all that stuff. But right now, there is a cutoff low that is going to be centered near where Oregon and California and the Pacific Ocean meet. And so there's going to be one bit that goes south into the central California coast, one bit that goes north of British Columbia, and that is funneling all of that moisture. There's going to be additional low pressure systems in that, but all that moisture, because of the split flow, instead of coming into British Columbia and the Northwest, it's going into central and southern California. And I had the European model up here. And the European model gives 230 millimeters of rain for Los Angeles over the next 5 days. Oh, I see here. So if you switch that to rain accumulation real quick for me. And then, we're getting a little feedback. We'll just deal with it. Rain accumulation. Switch it out to 5 days. Click the little, instead of the heart button there in the bottom right, click the little sunshine with the cloud. You can see, up in the mountains north of LA, 305 millimeters, but LA itself, what is that, 229 millimeters? And for context, I'm pretty sure Los Angeles averages about 380 millimeters of rain over the course of the entire year. So they are slated to get, in the next 5 days, 2/3 of their annual average rainfall.
Yeah, I mean, flash flooding is almost definite in that kind of scenario.
Right, but you see here the snow in the Sierra Nevada. That's going to be quite nice because snow levels are going to be at about 1,700 meters, and Lake Tahoe. I don't remember exactly the Lake Tahoe elevation, but where the freeway between Sacramento and Reno is, it gets up to about 2,500 meter elevation, or maybe 2,700 meters.
I think Tahoe's about 1,800 meters. Roughly.
Yeah, so plenty of snow in the Sierra Nevada, which will be good. And this is a more typical El Nino sort of pattern, and this will, if we can hold on to this snow into like May and June, we'll have good snowpack, we'll have good water availability in California, and this impacts the electrical power market throughout the entire western U.S. and Canada. And so if there's good hydro in California, that helps to keep our energy prices a little bit lower for the year.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure. You're at the American Meteorological Society's annual meeting. What's that like?
It is many things, but overall it is a grouping of weather nerds. There were a lot of PhDs, and there was a lot of stuff that went over my head because I just have a bachelor's degree, and I think Chris is in the same boat. But some key takeaways from what we attended. We attended some AI modeling seminars, and the key takeaway from that is they're working on it, but it's still not great. And then renewable energy, the wind and solar vary pretty significantly over short time scales, and so there are some pretty major elephants in the room to handle before we can fully decarbonize the electrical economy. But the real fun was downstairs in the exhibit hall where all of the companies were hawking their wares. So for those on the radio, we are wearing Northrop Grumman beanies. And Northrop Grumman is, of course, the major defense contractor that only handles weather data and nothing else at all. Wink, wink. Northrop Grumman was there. Lockheed Martin was there. Raytheon was there. But there were also like Kestrel. If you're a weather nerd, you know what Kestrel is. Kestrel and Ambient are owned by the same company.
Campbell Scientific, Meter. There were all kinds of like companies with drone technology trying to basically we're trying to figure out what the temperature profile is, wind profile is aloft between our wind parks and the top of it. Inversion layer. That's a big thing for us. So,
NASA was there, and I got roped into some NASA research. Yeah. My wife and I were flying to Arkansas for the solar eclipse in April, and she wasn't happy with me when I told her I had to requisition her tripod. She's a professional photographer. She wasn't happy that I had to requisition her tripod for NASA research. What's that, Frankie?
Mark and Chris, you could even meet Ivan of Don and Mantis podcast. Once you go to Arkansas this April coming, you could even meet Don and Mantis podcast.
Ooh, I'll have to look into that. Yeah. NOAA was there, of course, the U.S. The agency that's over the U.S. National Weather Service, and there was just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there were 7,000 attendees between the virtual and the in-person. I feel like with that was a huge convention center, but I feel like we probably had in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 5,000 there. So probably the largest meeting of meteorologists that you're going to see anywhere in the world this year.
We had to go out for lunch. We had to walk a full kilometer away from the convention center because there were just so many people right around here, and that was the most brutal part. I got in every single day this week. I have my Apple Watch, and it told me I walked more than 7 kilometers, and one day I walked 15 kilometers. So It was a good time.
Sometimes you got to go.
The weather was nice.
Yes, so it's been warm here. It wasn't quite as warm midweek, but when we landed that day, it got to 26 degrees Celsius in Baltimore. That tied the all-time January record. We went down to DC just to visit because we don't get to this side of the country often, and it was 27 there last Friday. That breaks the all-time January record. Midweek we were kind of down around 5 degrees Celsius or whatever, but it's warmed up again, and it was sunny today, so it was pretty nice. I like rain a lot, but when you're traveling, you want a little bit less of it.
It was an interesting thermodynamic profile because we had an inversion at about 850 millibars, and it was keeping that stratus in place for like 2 days straight. At the same time, we had pretty strong northeast winds off of the Atlantic. And then, like I said, we had that inversion because we had southwesterly winds aloft above that. And so we had a warm layer there. It just acted like the lid on a crock pot, kind of keeping that cold air in place. So really raw, really annoying. But today the sun broke out. We hit, about 14?
12 or so.
12 or so? Okay. Yeah, more like 12. But yeah, it was a great day to be out. And in fact, the president of the AMS commented on it even. He was like, oh, yeah, the sun was lighting up the Orioles Stadium. And I guess was a team sold or was a...
I don't know, something about the kind of manager. But is anybody here an NFL football fan?
Yeah, this is Canada.
I ask because
if they play it on skates, I think it's cool.
We can see the Baltimore Ravens stadium, and the Ravens played last Sunday for their chance to be in the Super Bowl. And they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, which is currently famous because Travis Kelce is betting with Taylor Swift. So we're within 1 kilometer of Taylor Swift. We were within 1 kilometer of Taylor Swift last weekend.
So Taylor Swift proximity, that was the closest I've been. I don't know about Mark.
That's probably it.
That's almost intimate.
Almost, yes, yeah.
Yeah, she almost could have gotten pregnant by Mark here, but didn't quite happen.
Some of us have some of us have standards.
I got Hank asking for a link to the show. I'm now overloaded. We'll come back to you guys in a minute. Brandon, talk to us about this record-breaking week we just had. Brandon House and Brooks, Alberta, home of the British Columbia Hockey League's Brooks Bandits, which he's
the new British Columbia
for.
Oh, yes. New BCHL team today, officially announced. Yeah, it's been a wild couple of weeks, but we did it. We made it through, and we're playing hockey again. So that's all good in the hood. Yeah. Anyways, we'll get into the records and the weather that we've had this week. My goodness, what a week we've had with temperatures well above the average mark. And I mean, way above the average mark. A lot of the ice, pretty much all over snowpack. It's gone. And we broke a record high today. It was a big record high today here in the city of Brooks. We got up to 13.8 degrees, which rounds up to about 14 degrees. And the old record was 13.3 back in 1924, which was 100 years ago today. So it's pretty much, it's wild, absolutely. And last couple of days, Cardston, Alberta got up to 18 degrees above the melting point there, and in Irvine as well, and in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan earlier this week broke their one of the third warmest places in January all time at 21 degrees Celsius there earlier this week as well. So that was on Tuesday, and then we had this wild little storm system moving out of British Columbia that I know Joey had that wind go through, Prince George as well, and that thing came out of it. Almost is pretty much behaved like a summertime thunderstorm with a little squall on it, and it was going at 80 kilometers an hour out of the mountains into the Grand Prairie area with wind gusts of 110 kilometers an hour, and there was a lot of power outages. Trees got knocked down. Somebody lost their barbecue cover. It was gone. Somebody's barbecue rolled down the stairs as well. And that was in Grand Prairie this week. So that wild wind moved its way. And there's even a couple lightning strikes. So we can officially declare it the first thunderstorm of the year in Canada. So it's just been a wild week.
People in Prince George saw lightning, and they're asking me because it was different colored lightning. I think definitely there could have been mixed precipitation in there, making the different colors, and also the wind blowing dust and things like
Yep,
that.
definitely the
Change
wind
color
blowing
lighting.
dust there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite wild, quite wild. I know a roof of a heavy duty shop got blown off in Vancouver Island in the middle of the night there. Peggy here in town, everything turned to ice, and the wind blew her truck out of her driveway and out into the laneway.
Oh yeah. That's wild.
That's different. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like for a minute I wanted to blow my roof off. What's coming, Brandon?
What's coming? Well, we are anticipating, if I can get this shared dealio to work here. I just gotta. So yeah, we're anticipating a change in the weather pattern finally for us here in the province of Alberta, and this is pretty much going to be welcome precipitation coming our way in the next next couple of days here, as we have this. As we're kind of interacting with the same low that's pushing into British Columbia there. So we've got that low, along with an Arctic high dropping in from the north, especially because this last week we've been under this Omega blocking pattern, I must say. So we've
I'm not
got
seeing your screen yet.
Oh, it should be there in
Yeah, it's
5,
coming.
4,
There it goes.
3, 2, 1. There we go.
There
All
you
right.
go.
There. It's taking its sweet time to share. All right. So we have this system moving in. So whenever low pressure develops in Montana, that spells trouble for us here in southern Alberta. And here it is, the snow wrapping up there. You've got your upslope enhancement, upslope flow, and there's that snow picking up in intensity Saturday night into Sunday across southern Alberta, extending into parts spells of trouble for us here in Saskatchewan. And yeah, it's just going to be a pretty good amount of snow. I just got to move you guys because you're right in my way to change this thing.
And maybe some freezing rain in Saskatchewan, looks like there.
Freezing rain, potentially in Saskatchewan. So looking like we're at least going to be in 10 to 20 centimeter range, possibly picking up over 30 to 40 in the southwestern corner of the province in the next Saturday right into Sunday there. And into next week, we're going to continue to see temperatures kind of hanging out just around the average mark for a change. So we're not going to go way below average like we were a couple of weeks ago when we broke record lows many weeks ago, a minus 42 and wind chills in the minus 50s. So we'll be right around -3 to -5. So that's average for this time of year. Overnight lows in the minus teens. So more typical.
What about the Los Angeles weather on the map?
Oh, yes.
Well, Brian, we got so many people here now. Hank Fleece just showed up. So we got storm chasers and meteorologists and comedians and everybody and farmers. Brian, what's going on for you? How is this event for you and what's coming down there? Your take on it. Brian Schmidt from Portland Censored.
The kids missed the whole week of school, and today it was record high temperature. We had a lot of rain, not much snow. Pretty wet month. We had about 25 centimeters of rain in December and January. So now there's a dry spell coming. It's nice. I would like to point out, though, that
I'm having trouble hearing you, Brian. Could you get a little closer to the mic, maybe? Or
I have old equipment. I'm in the store.
Can
you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Brian in the storage room.
Yeah. So anyways, it's supposed to be a long dry spell now after a couple wet months. Does anybody know the year Canada's highest temperature ever?
When was the highest January temperature record, Brandon?
Oh, I saw this on my X not too long ago. But
was it Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls, yes, I saw Niagara Falls, and it was the year. Did I retweet that?
You're checking.
Double check.
So
yes, I did. 1950.
it seems like
I just retweeted that minutes ago.
Minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you're doing while you're live streaming, while you're recording, while you're working? You're on social media? Oh,
Yeah,
Brandon.
of course.
Oh,
You have to be a good radio weatherman. Yeah.
considering
There's
you
a
spend half
connection
the
because
time on the air and half
1950
the
was
time
the
on
coldest
social.
ever in British Columbia, while Eastern Canada saw its all-time warmest at the same time.
Yeah. What was that again? Sorry, Brian.
I don't know, my audio's really messed up. Oh, so anyways, there's been a massive increase in the size of my group with the weather. Got 2,600 new people in like 3 weeks. So it's been pretty busy. A bunch of spammers too.
Scammers. Yeah, I get those in Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers and deniers. Scammers and deniers. You gotta love it. Yeah, they come to your group. Hilding, how was the weather for you this week in Grassy Plains, British Columbia? What's going on, cowboy?
Well, it's been basically drizzling rain here since Sunday. I saw freezing a couple of nights, but the days have been consistently around +5, +6. Today it was +5 at noon. I checked just before we started our report this evening, and it was up to +8 already. So it's actually warming up right now. We're looking at the snow all melt within the next day or two here, and the water is starting to just run off because the ground was frozen enough. So it's looking like really bad for crops as far as farmers go, because we're pretty late in the season to be losing all our water.
Or pretty early, for that matter. Imogen, Victoria, Vancouver Island, what was this week's weather like for people down there?
Not that bad, actually. Every time we hear atmospheric river where there's a lot of threat of heavy rainfall, flooding, etc., we always get the least of it. Victoria is exempt. I don't know why. We just are.
Rain shadow.
Yeah, Up Island, you got the rain shadow of the Olympic Mountains there. Up Island, though, at Duncan and places like that.
Yep. Yeah, Up Island, they get a lot more of that rainy weather. They get a lot more of the wind and the storminess than we do. Anytime we get bad weather coming along, then Tofino is just an absolute hot spot if you want to watch it. If you want to see some brilliant storms and lightning and thunder and all that good stuff. Tsunami looking, it's a surfer's dream, really. If you ever get a chance to go to Tofino, weather like storm watching is definitely a thing up there. Down here, it's bland, it's gray, it's damp, not a whole lot going on. It's any weather system just breaks up. There's a lot of little tiny rocky outcroppings of little islandettes all around here that it grates it down. It's like a cheese grater. A storm comes across the cheese grater and falls apart. So
yeah, Up Island, where Solander Island is, they had 90-mile-an-hour winds the other night, which is 144 kilometers an hour, roughly. So
right. Those lucky jerks. They get the good weather. We get, hey, today was sunny. It was nice out. It was calm. Bit of clouds.
And Hank.
Hey, Brandon, what's the Los Angeles weather like?
Los Angeles, they're about to get a lot of rain, especially in the next week. Probably flash flooding will be a big concern in the next week. And well, their weather today was quite dismal as well. They've had a lot of rain as well.
Rain, and there's a lot of snow in Nova Scotia, a lot of rain. Los Angeles, 2 different stubborn storms.
Oh, yes. 2 different storms, 2 big powerhouses in the weather community.
And the third powerhouse is there's a cyclone hitting Northern Australia. It's going to bring a lot of rain in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah. They've had a lot of rain in Australia as well. Yeah. They've big time flooding there. I think the one day earlier this week, they had like 300 millimeters of rain.
And what about the asteroid 2024 and then the asteroid 2024 BEP1 headed towards the Earth on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. I got the video.
Ooh, I better duck for cover then.
Yeah, I don't know if we I don't think we have time for videos tonight. We got so many people here. We haven't talked to Hank Vliester yet in Saskatchewan, south of him. 21 degrees this week, Hank. And we can't hear him.
Hank, unmute. We need to hear you.
Unmute.
Hank's not even talking. Oh,
Okay,
Hank,
well,
guys. Joey, what did you do? Why is
I didn't
Hank
do nothing.
us?
I didn't do nothing.
Brandon.
Well, while we're waiting for Hank Vliestra to be able to speak to us, we'll go back to Mark and Chris because we've only got 24 minutes left. Mark and Chris, so you work in renewable energies. You're a meteorologist.
Yes.
You do more than just talk on the TV. You're a different kind of meteorologist than that.
Yes, well, apparently we talk on the TV today, but we forecast wind and solar. Our company owns wind and solar assets in eastern Washington and eastern Oregon, and so we forecast. We make like a day ahead forecast, and then those traders will trade based on how much energy we expect to have, and then we make hourly forecasts to kind of make up the difference when in the error of that day ahead forecast. So it's kind of like a watered down stock market. They're literally on the phone calling, and they deal with counterparties all throughout the West. That includes Power or BC Hydro. Their trading portion is called PowerX. We've got a few counterparties in Alberta, and then we send a lot down to California, and then Portland General Electric. We are not a utility ourselves. We just sell to the utilities. I did want to say, though, I will cover Winnipeg because my dad lives near there. Not there. He actually lives in Minnesota, but about 2 hours from Winnipeg. And it is crazy warm in Winnipeg, like Saskatchewan. The temperature anomalies, it's like 18 C above average. If you draw a line and go north from like Winnipeg to Saskatoon, this includes Churchill. And what's happening is there's a ridge kind of oriented over the southeastern U.S. up to Great Lakes like Michigan, and then into central Ontario, well west of Toronto. And so it's pulling up a lot of warmth and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And so I pulled up my official weather app, the Apple weather app, and it's going to be 5 degrees C in Winnipeg on Sunday. And the average for this time of year is minus 11 for the high. So 16 degrees above average for Winnipeg.
We took a look at some records for Winnipeg, daily record.
Oh, and we lost them again. The hotel Wi-Fi.
Hotel Wi-Fi. So daily. So yesterday was interesting. Yes, they had. We're hoping to break a record, but the airport itself didn't get to 5 degrees, but the rest of the city did. So it was weird.
Oh, we got them back.
We're back.
Sorry. So as I was saying, the daily records for Winnipeg, they're only about a degree or two above this +5. So we could be flirting with some daily records in Winnipeg.
Manitoba, probably eastern Saskatchewan.
Over the next few days. So.
Yes, well, the list is long and I'm just going to, give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull up a graphic for us. And I should have this prepared, but I don't. But here we go.
We should have better internet, but we don't, so,
Share screen. So here we go. This right here is the daily forecast discussion. These are all temperature records that were broken yesterday, and some of them 18 degrees in Cardston, records since 1918. Claresholm 16.5, pretty warm. Hendrickson Creeks definitely smashed its record. Well, who else can we say smashed the record? Waterton Park, it's pretty close to smashing, 16 degrees, that beats 11. So and this isn't just in Alberta. We keep going on. I mean, this is a long list. Then we go to British Columbia, records broken, in many cases significantly. And then we go to Manitoba, records broken, 8.8 degrees in Emerson, Deerwood area, 10 degrees Celsius breaking records. Gretna doubles its record.
Well, not technically doubles.
Yeah, and then we go to Saskatchewan, same sort of thing. 15 degrees in Coronach. That's 5 degrees, beats the old record. And you see this trend going on. And I could read all these out, but we're not going to do that right now. That just
you mentioned 16 in Waterton Park. I've been to Glacier, which is on the Montana side right there, and I've been there in July and seen snow. And that's I don't know what elevation that weather station is at, but Waterton Park and Glacier National Park are a remarkably high elevation area. Like we're talking on the order of 1,200 meters at minimum, but many places over 2,000 meters, and they recorded 16. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, I'm at 1,200 meters here where I live. We were getting some 8-9 degree days and whatnot here in Wells, but I saw leading towards us, I was like looking at the different, looking at everything and saying like, wow, could it actually, the freezing level get up to 10,000 feet in the South Rockies? And I believe that happened.
Right this time of year, that's something else. That's a problem because the road from Kalispell to go over Glacier and whatever, that gets up to 7,000 feet, which is 2,300 meters or so, and that's just very high elevation to be very warm in January.
Most of the time when that happens, it's like you have either an atmospheric river event where you have those that really warm that subtropical teleconnection, or you have like a ridge overhead with subsidence, which is essentially just sinking air from the mid levels, and due to the law of thermodynamics, it will warm as it sinks, and it just basically the pressure changing, etc. In fact, when we were interesting thought experiment, when we were coming out here on the airplane, it was minus 60 Celsius at the elevation we were at, which was
34,000 feet.
Yeah, roughly 34,000 feet.
10 kilometers.
10 kilometers roughly. And when they bring that air into the aircraft, they actually have to use air conditioning to cool it down. Otherwise, if you use a QT diagram, you would see that air would be about plus 40 Celsius.
When they add all the additional air pressure so you don't suffocate.
Because the inside the aircraft, it's about 850 millibars, between 800 and 850. So that's a lot of warming. So you would basically be sweating to death inside that aircraft without air conditioning, even though it's negative 60 outside.
And we flew Alaska Airlines 2 weeks after they lost a door plug, so we're the bravest people here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mark was threatening to open up the door. So I had to restrain him on the flight.
Yes.
Can Hank Fleester be heard and talk yet? Are you there, Hank? And we still can't hear Hank. All right, well, that's we can't hear you, Hank. Hello, we can't hear you. Has anyone got questions for Mark Ingalls and Chris Calais?
They don't have to be about weather.
Yeah, we can do AMA. You can just ask us anything, really. I mean, within reason.
I have
Brandon
pizza
House got a question.
Crickets once again.
Brandon Houck has a question.
What?
Okay.
I do? I have a question.
Let's hear it.
Well, that was one question.
One question.
There's another one. He's got another one.
Maybe
I have a
I
question
do.
here.
What is I shall ask, what is the best storm you've ever witnessed in your life?
Okay. I think this is probably it might be the same for both of us, but May 2020, we had a severe weather outbreak in Oregon, which is incredibly rare. And I lived in Eastern Washington at the time. Chris lived in Portland, and we met up. It was funny because my mom lives in Central Oregon, but was visiting us, and she was mad at me for going storm chasing where she lives. Yeah. But we drove down there, we met up, and we were waiting for this storm to come in. Like, I've lived in Nebraska, I've lived in Texas, but the sky was just so incredibly green. It was like looking at clouds of Andes mints.
Yeah.
And then it started we got the outflow wind, and it was sandblasting our legs, and then it started hailing, and I remember thinking to myself, my wife is not going to be very pleased if I come back with dents in my car and a broken windshield. And so we went out. We went. Yeah. I didn't need to be doing that in my Kia Niro. So we kind of booked it back out towards the highway. But the hail is shredding the trees, and it's like it's like golf ball size hail. And then it's a good thing we got out of there, because right through that area, the storm produced straight line winds, not a tornado, just a straight line wind of about 210 kilometers an hour. And so we were going to chase it north from around Bend, Oregon, up towards Kennewick, Washington, and then kind of towards Spokane. But there was so much damage along the highway there north of where we got out of the hail zone that we couldn't get through, and then it was flooding in a town called Madras, and so we kind of just called it a day. But it was pretty incredible, especially for Oregon.
We had some power poles down. We had some, some grain silos that were all torn up.
Well, I think Brian's in British Columbia because they're like, well, tornadoes don't really happen in British Columbia. Like, well,
tornadoes definitely happen in British Columbia.
It happened in the UK.
They have and do, and I've seen storms that were very capable of doing it every year that I've been out watching storms, including this past year.
And I don't want to leave Brian Schmidt out either because he was a part of this. He was definitely giving us some intel on this and watching radar and stuff as this was unfolding.
So I'm telling people that there's more than one kind of damaging thing that can come out of a thunderstorm. Like when it's time to take cover.
That's true too. And hail is a underappreciated threat, especially. I mean, every Canadian province gets tornadoes. I don't know so much about the territories, especially when you get up towards the Arctic, but every Canadian province gets gets tornadoes. But hail, like even just golf ball sized hail, was shredding these trees. And imagine what that's doing to like wheat, or like I've driven through southern Alberta and there's a ton of canola there, and you're just going to destroy that crop. And that hail is especially favorable in Alberta because of the higher elevation.
So just as an aside,
last year 2010, and baseballs fell and caused $450 million in damage to the city.
So were they Blue Jays baseballs?
Yeah, not softballs, hard balls, but actual baseballs.
So we're calling blue balls then? Or blue balls.
For the Blue Jays, yes.
I think Hilding had a question. Hilding, you got a question for Mark and Chris?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any comparison to the huge winds that we're getting on the coast now compared to the big blow that was in 1921.
I unfortunately don't know. I can say in general though that the coast, I mean, the BC coast is pretty similar to Washington and Oregon in that they do periodically get some pretty big windstorms. It's just a matter of where that low pressure system lands. So like earlier in the show, we were talking about that hurricane force storm off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Well, that landed somewhere on the BC coast or maybe Southeast Alaska. And so that does happen occasionally. I think we, at least anecdotally for myself, I've seen it more commonly towards Tofino and whatever. But that certainly happens. But I can't really compare it to previous storms because I just don't know.
Sometimes up towards like what is it, Haida Gwaii or whatever?
Haida Gwaii, yeah.
I still call them Queen Charlotte, but yeah.
2006, I believe it was, windstorm that knocked down like trees in Stanley Park, left, right, and center. It was quite something.
We call that the Hanukkah Eve storm, and that knocked out power to over 1 million customers in the Seattle area, and I know a ton in Vancouver too.
And it actually made the drinking water of Vancouver turbid because of slides and rain and all this that happened at the time. I got to ask you.
So turbidity is your particulates in the water, kind of suspended in the water.
Yeah, it's muddy.
I got to ask you about the patch you have. Float around and find out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so for those on television, here it is, and for those on radio, I will describe it. It has a weather balloon that is being exploded, and then Winnie the Pooh is holding on to the weather balloon, and so this is a reference to when the United States military recently got worried about weather balloons floating over the northern tier of the country, and so they decided they needed to shoot them down, and some of them may or may not have been Chinese balloons. Apparently, Winnie the Pooh is a euphemism for the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and one of the vendors at AMS, they manufacture weather balloons, and they were giving these out, and apparently there was a little verbal altercation that lasted about an hour between the vendor and a group of Chinese meteorologists that were visiting for the conference.
Yeah, it was almost the foreign policy little faux pas there.
Yeah, so we're not doing much to improve international relations here in Baltimore.
So here you guys are with your Northrop.
You know what? My philosophy is, you come here, you remember that, you tell the Chinese, CCP line or whatever, get wrecked. This is America. We believe in freedom.
You got your Northrop.
We believe in blowing up weather balloons.
Northrop Grumman tukes there. Northrop Grumman missiles shooting down weather balloons. I mean, what's going on in American meteorology?
Well, you also, Chris is wearing Lockheed Martin sunglasses.
Exactly. I have these on. I mean, obviously it's for a little bit of mystique as well, but and also your glowing presence on there is just blinding. But also, yeah, we call them the dark trifecta. We got Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman, and
who all only do weather surveillance. They don't do anything else.
Yep.
Oh no, not at all. Never.
No. We had a good joke going. It was 80% weather.
To say that
80% weather satellites, 20% thermonuclear weapons.
I wish I was paid to say that. Maybe I could put in a new kitchen early.
So, anyways, the lady that we talked to, she got a kick out of it. She was cracking up, and she works for Northrop, so
80% weather satellites, 20% thermonuclear weapons.
Yeah, so that's the real takeaway from AMS.
So.
Oh, that is gold. Okay.
She was really upfront with us though. She was like, we do a ton of surveillance, and pretty much any surveillance can be weather surveillance.
Yep. She had a point there. I mean, military grade surveillance. I mean, that's the land cover maps, all that really high resolution stuff that the military has. I mean, that's huge for integrating the weather models.
And just so we're clear, your military uses it too, so it's not just us.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's not just you, definitely, and our military definitely also doesn't use Stingray for surveillance of civilians ever.
No, they use it for surveillance of weather. They tie into your phone just to see what the atmospheric pressure is. Nothing else.
We have speed cameras here, and it's
they
good
tie
to let
into your
people...
phone just to see what you meteorologists are saying, and then they make big decisions
about the weather.
Right? Yes. D-Day. If cell phones existed in D-Day, that's how they would find out.
Listening to you guys to find out what's going on with the weather. Okay,
we
haven't played a Frankie video this week. Frankie, heavy rain to hit Los Angeles. He really wants us to watch it. I know he does, and I really watch it too. Ready, Frankie?
Yes. This is Frankie McDonald, my own team station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Heavy rains head towards Los Angeles, California on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. It's going to bring up to 50 plus millimeters of rain. That's around 3 inches of rain or more in Los Angeles, California, and surrounding areas. It's going to last for the next few days. But the heavy rain's going to happen in Los Angeles, California for the next few days. Then it got cold there, heading all the way to Los Angeles, California. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in greater Los Angeles, California, and the surrounding areas. It's also going to affect Long Beach, California, Burbank, California, Hollywood, California, Glendale, California, Corona, California, Anaheim, California, Orange County, California, and Victorville, California as well.
Also Victorville.
It's going to bring a lot of rain in greater Los Angeles, California, and surrounding areas. Streets, roads, highways, and freeways will be wet, including interstate highways. There'll be a lot of puddles on the streets in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. People in Los Angeles, California, be prepared. Make sure if your rubber boots, raincoat, train tools ready as well. When you go for a walk, don't walk through the puddles. Avoid the puddles when you go for a walk. When you drive a car, don't drive the car through the puddles either. In Los Angeles, since it's going to bring a lot of rain in greater Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. And Sunday will not be a good day to head to the beach, go swimming to get cooled off. Because it's going to bring a lot of heavy rain in Los Angeles. It's going to start on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. It's going to last for the next few days in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. If anybody live in Los Angeles, California, be prepared for heavy rain on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy rain. Stay dry, be safe.
Can I just say something real quick about the heavy rain threat down there? the big problem that they run into is landslides, especially around recent burn scars from wildfires. So they'll get these debris flows that come off the fire burn area and down into the canyon, and they're pretty incredible. Of course, up in BC, you guys get that, and in Oregon
Definitely
and
had that.
Washington, we get that too.
And
I'd say that's probably the real threat.
I got
my summer
something to
job
say.
is I fight wildfire.
Earlier this week, Kinsey Clump is mighty busy this Wednesday. My next interview with Jamie Clump, Kinsey Clump podcast, will be on Tuesday, February the 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Atlantic, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Love those guys. Frankie, should people in Los Angeles wait to be prepared for the atmospheric river?
Yes, be prepared right away.
They should do it right now?
Yes.
Do it right now! Don't wait. Do it right now, everybody. Well, that's been a really fun show. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Cipher 88.7 and Prince George, Winnipeg, CKOW 959, 92.5, CFBX Kamloops. Thank you, Rogers Television. You've been watching us there, Vancouver Island. How wonderful. Thanks, Imogen and Frankie McDonald and Brandon Hauk and Hilding Donaldson. And who else do we had? Brian Schmidt was here and Hank Vliester tried to talk. And, of course, Mark and Chris. So this is how the panel is formed. Now that you've been on the show, you can just come in whenever you want.
Expect me back.
Yep.
I would like that.
We may kind of trade off, but yeah.
I put the link up every Thursday night, and sometimes it's whoever shows up, and we kind of just shoot from the hip.
I get to say that I am internationally syndicated now, and I'm not letting that go.
There you go. But your first episode is always your feature episode, and there you are at the American Meteorological Society's annual meeting in Baltimore. Nobody on our show has ever done anything so weather nerdery.
And did you hear about this? How many days is Los Angeles going to rain for?
How many days, Frankie?
For the next 7 straight days next week.
I need to move there. I moved to Portland, Oregon from Eastern Washington, where it's a desert, specifically for the rain, and it's going to be sunny when I get back. I need to move to Los Angeles.
That's going to cost a lot of landslides, mudslides, and everything. That's going to halt the movie industry. That's going to halt the movie filming in Los Angeles and Hollywood and all those places. That's going to cost damper on the Oscars and things like this. And
Are you waiting for a specific movie?
Don't know yet.
I'm the exact opposite. I moved to 1,200 meters up in the Caribbean Islands because I hate
are you ready
rain.
for the Twister? Are you ready for the Twister sequel this July coming?
I cannot wait, Frankie. I cannot wait. Hey, Frankie, when you're not stealing Wi-Fi at A&W, how can people find you on the internet?
If you want to find me on the internet, my blue sky is at Frankie MacD. My link tree is at Frankie MacDonald. And my X, formerly known as Twitter, is at Frankie MacD. My Facebook is Frankie Down. My Instagram is Frankie MacD984. My TikTok is FrankDown984. My Clapper is FrankDown984. My Twitch is FrankDown984. My Snapchat is Frankie AmyCDN. My YouTube channel is Dogs Wolves, and my link is Frankie Down. Best luck there. I'm Frankie Down. You're listening to Joy on the show every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic.
We couldn't get a laugh out of Frankie on the stealing Wi-Fi tonight. Times have changed around here. Can't get Frankie to laugh at the stealing Wi-Fi. Anyways, this is Comedeorological Report. I'm Joey Only up here in Wells, British Columbia. And thanks, everybody, for coming on the show. What a great time we had. Okay, and if you want to catch the live streams ever or any back episode of the show, you can always come to Joey Only, Caribbean Weather Dude, my YouTube channel, where we do all that. We broadcast Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Okay, I think that's about all. Anyone else got anything last to say? 30 seconds.
Quick question for Frankie. An atmospheric river going through the Amazon, how piranha infested in it is it, and what is the chance of being eaten alive by those atmospheric piranhas?
A lot. That means an atmospheric river that can trigger a whole lot of rain in Los Angeles. That's going to cost mudslides, going to cost earthquakes too.
Now, they call it the Pineapple Express, Frankie, because the winds were so strong it literally blew pineapples across the ocean.
And did you hear what this? It's coming all the way from China.
And then it came all the way from China, but we couldn't shoot it down, unfortunately. Float around and find out.
Piranhas.
All right, that's the show for this week. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye. See ya. Never, Joey.
Never. I'm not that terrible. Frankie's gone.
Oh yeah.
We're still live streaming, but the recording session of the show is officially over. Now we're back to smoking bongs and fucking swearing and talking bullshit.
I gotta say though, they would. I think the Amazon would really take a couple atmospheric rivers right now. Have you seen the pictures of some of the tributaries of the Amazon? It is crazy dry.
Desolate.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute destruction. Those piranhas, they're growing legs just to get out of it and adapt.
Watch out for your sweet nothings there, Chris. We're still on live. We're out of town, so he's calling his daughters back at home.
Okay, I'm trying to find the Michael Bublé high on shrooms video. Man, that's so funny.
So while you find that, on our Christmas playlist on Spotify that my wife and I have, there's a song by Michael Bublé, and it always I find it to be so cringy, and I wonder if she's listening to this because I've never told her this before, but I find it to be so cringy. It starts, he's like, "Hello, ladies," and then they're like, "Hello, Mr. Bublé," and it's just like so cringe. I don't remember what song it is, but it's just the worst opening.
Okay, I got it. I found it. I didn't even mean to, but John Bofonos commented on the thread and it popped back up on my feed. So I'll give it to you in a second here. This is gold. This is gold, everybody.
Michael, you referenced tonight being in first place in your fantasy league. My sources tell me that might not be completely accurate, but I wanted to ask you, how did you use your fantasy knowledge tonight to strategize?
I want to sound more like you. You got a beautiful deep voice. Matt, I'm in more than one hockey league. So, in the LHL, which I'm in with you, I happen to be in 5th place. Even though I had no first pick even. I didn't even have a first rounder. And I still did what I had to do because of my genius. Second, I am first place in the FHL, other fantasy hockey league.
Listen to this shit.
Third,
wait.
My buddy told me this is just a microdose of mushrooms, and he was lying. So, I'll be honest, I thought I was in Blades of Glory for most of the time that I was out there.
And he's like on the ice picking teams at the stadium in Toronto, and he's hi.
Hey, speaking of hockey, are there any WHL fans in here?
As in Western Hockey League?
Yeah.
That show is
of course, man.
So go Tri-City Americans. That's my home team, Tri-City Americans.
Oh yeah.
They're it was always funny because the WHL has a lot of young players, and in my high school you could always tell who the hockey players were because they were the dudes with the pickups in the school parking lot that had Saskatchewan and Alberta plates. In Eastern Washington, like they're the Tri-City Americans, but 3/4 of them are Canadian.
That's actually funny. Yeah, I totally get that. All right, it's time for the post-show edition of Fuck Bullshit.
I gotta get
let
me
help you.
Go do a thing. See y'all later.
Good night, Imogen. Good to see you, friend. So let me help you kill your husband. Has he tried prayers? Can anyone help? Hubby put a drill into his leg 3 days ago. He's covered it in bandaged. Also put colloidal silver on it. It's healed over the top and scabbed already, but now it's getting hot and red, suggesting infection, and not healed deeper down. What now? More colloidal silver? Or should I do castor oil wrap? And Buddy says, avoid the tetanus jab. Don't get tetanus unless he works directly with cow poop. He doesn't need it. Homeopathic remedies, 1,000%. You can't. 1,000% isn't even a real number. Onion wrap his socks each night. That will draw the nasty infection from his body. So yeah, let me help you kill your husband. Always with the onions. He definitely needs thoughts and prayers. There you go. Dolphins survived 25 million years before they're going back in the ocean because they're one of the smartest animals. Say what you will about animal intelligence, but if you leave birds alone for a few thousand years, they don't invent subprime mortgages. All right. Okay, here we go. This shit's deadly. Every single person who confuses correlation and causation ends up dying. Okay? And
everybody who drinks dehydrogen monoxide ends up dying too.
That's true. Water is very bad for you in the long run. And I remember that episode of Bullshit with Penn and Teller. And as you can imagine, my Facebook group, Fuck Bullshit, Penn and Teller. I love that show, and that was one of their big things was the dehydrogen.
Is this like a Canadian like late night show or something?
No, Penn and Teller's Bullshit.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was. They're American magicians, and
you may find that with pop media. I live under a rock.
Yeah,
I understand. I'm much the same. I played outlaw country for years, and I live in the mountains. And I don't. People were like talking about Taylor Swift, and I couldn't name you a song she sings, but I'm glad that the American far right is losing their mind over her. I mean, that's great.
Right.
And I'm glad that fathers and daughters are watching football together. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So
for
my wife,
different reasons.
wife,
she gives to every town she plays, and she gives like a shitload of money to food banks and stuff. Like, she's not a terrible person. I just think pop culture's lame. I don't care.
My wife, we got a bag of Doritos and it had Travis Kelce on it, and she's like, "That's the guy that Taylor Swift is dating."
Like, oh, okay.
And my wife doesn't. Her favorite football team is the Carolina Panthers, and that's because their jerseys are her favorite shade of blue. That's all she cares about with football.
Okay, here's a good one. When you realize you slept your way to the bottom, she's got a big hole to sleep out of. There you go. And lastly, these images are actually real. This is why pregnant women get ultrasounds and not MRIs. This is what an MRI looks like of a fetus. That's true. I double checked that wasn't BS when I seen that, and no, that's actually what the MRI.
So is this are we deciding that this is the news section because we brought some news to the table?
We have some news you can use.
Generally, we do the news during the show, but we had too much talking to do.
So my news story, it's out of the Miami Herald. Basically, there's a woman that was on a flight between Orlando to Philadelphia back in November, and apparently near the end of the flight, she just apparently had to go. And you know how they want you to stay in your seats, like once you get to the last little bit of the flight. She pretty much just pulled down her pants, squatted, and just peed in the middle of the aisle.
I'm feeling that right now.
So yeah,
as a matter of fact,
your molars are floating there.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Brandon, you're still here, right?
Oh yeah, yes. So,
okay, so you can listen to mine then, since Joey doesn't like Taylor Swift anyway. A school in Brisbane, Australia, has planned to change their exam times so that Year 12 students can attend a Taylor Swift concert in Sydney. so many of the 12th year kids in this high school are going to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concert that they say that they cannot change what day it's on, but they can adjust what time it's on, what time it's at. So they, I guess, are making it later so that the kids can do both.
Man, school was a lot tougher when I was a kid. I can tell you that right there.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, then I got this guy. He climbed Mount Everest in a day, smashing a world record without leaving his house. So he pretty much climbed how many stairs? This would be, I just kind of scroll down here. It was after he got a divorce and decided to do this. And
of course, it's after he got a divorce.
Yeah.
This really sounds like a midlife crisis sort of situation.
This is why he got the divorce, because she wouldn't let him do this.
So he climbed the stairs 91,784 times in one day to eventually reach the top of Mount Everest, even though it wasn't really Mount Everest, isn't it?
What a complete fucking freak.
I feel like there were some underlying issues in that marriage.
Might be, yeah.
I kind of sympathize with Michael Bublé. I once almost got frostbite on my cock while playing mushrooms.
I love how when we go off the air, this is like Trailer Park Boys. You know.
Well, no, it's true. I lived in Nanton, Alberta for quite a while there, for better part half a year, and my buddy Joe there, he ran the rink. He cleaned it,
Yeah.
and did the Zamboni at night and whatnot. So what he would do, he'd let me know what the schedule was, and he would just wait till midnight and do the Zamboni run last. So the kids get all done in their practices at 9:30, and then the rink's open. So I just come in there and throw down a couple bags of pucks, a couple baskets of pucks, skate around shooting. And it was like minus 25, and I was wearing track pants, and I was skating around all alone shooting pucks high on shrooms in the Nanton.
I'm pretty sure. And then
I was like, what's that pain? And my hand down there, and I was like, my God, I'm getting frostbite on my fucking Johnson. Because, you're skating around, your legs are wide open when you're skating, right? Your legs spread apart, and it's just hanging down there in the wind. And it was quite cold in the rink, and yeah.
I've only gone ice skating like 3 times, and every single time my ankles are like this. Like, I'm so bow-legged. I cannot be straight on the whatever the metal part is. I just can't do it. I don't know why, but
I think it would be great for if you want to become a Wing Chun Kung Fu student. That is our stance, the bow.
Hey, how similar? Everyone here seems to be in pretty small towns. How similar are your communities to what is depicted in the hit Canadian comedy television show Letterkenny?
Where I grew up, almost exact. Wells, no, there's nowhere like Wells. This is like, it's like where fucking Santa Claus lives or something here. It's like South Park. It's it's always snowing.
My dad looks like Santa Claus, and my daughter. Now that he lives in northern Minnesota, he will wear the suit and stuff, and my daughter literally calls him Grandpa Santa.
It's a different kind of place here in Wells. It's nothing like this exists anywhere else in Canada. It's not quite. Wells is so unique with our historic town, which I'm still mad at, Barkerville down the road, and the gold mine, Barkerville gold mine, which I'm still mad at, and
wow, you really are just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I went on a road trip once. When we lived in Kennewick, we drove up to what is it?
Williams Lake.
Williams Lake. We drove up to Williams Lake and stayed the night, and then we went into the A&W, which was right next to the hotel there, and just ordered some burgers. And A&W burgers are different up there than they are here, by the way. But then the guy's like, "And do you want a root beer float?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to, pay the extra money." And he's like, "No, it's free root beer float day." So that was a good day. But then we drove west to Bella Coola.
Nice.
On Highway 20 there. And that was parts of that drive are pretty harrowing.
Yeah, dude. Well, that Heckman Pass, I spent 10 days fighting a fire at.
I'm pretty sure I walked through that burn scar, actually, because we went hiking right at the top of the pass. We went north from the highway to kind of an alpine area, but we walked through.
Just recently?
This was
this summer.
It was this summer. Okay, because I was up there a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
probably lots of burn scars up there.
Yeah,
lots of burn scars, especially through the Chilcotin from 2017 and 2018. But yeah, Heckman Pass where it drops down and starts winding down. There was a lightning strike fire, and then we got deployed there and protect the highway kind of thing. But yeah, 10 days. It was pretty steep. I loved it. It was so fun, and staying in Bella Coola, fantastic experience. And what was funny, we were down in Kamloops, and we had the heat wave going on in August, and everything was fucking blowing up. There was windstorms, pushing fires 10, 20 kilometers in an afternoon.
Oh yeah, and the people in the neighborhoods got all angsty about being evacuated from the fire.
All hell was breaking loose. And here we are on standby with my crew, and I'm like, okay, well, we're whatever is going to happen next is probably going to be crazy. Kelowna, you know, maybe we'll get sent there. There's people, I knew people whose houses burned down in Kelowna, right? So I'm like, we're waiting, then we get the deployment order, like, and I like read it again, like, Bella Coola? Fucking right, see you later. No, because drive away from the media and the craziness and the angry people and just go fight a wilderness fire like I like to do. You know, that's unfortunately it's a lot more fun than the chaos of a real deal emergency.
Yeah, that highway, for those who may not know, you go like 400 kilometers west of Williams Lake, and Williams Lake is the last town with 1,000 people in it. And the part over the pass to get over the Coast Range and then into the fjord that Bella Coola sits on is 70 kilometers of gravel, and it's a single lane. And there's no guardrails, and then there's this big sign at the top of the pass that's like, if there's snow, use chains. Like it's just how it is. And I saw grizzly bears, and but somebody driving a minivan towing one of those little pop up tent things was like going 80 kilometers an hour coming the other way. I had only been on the gravel for about 3 kilometers. They're doing about 80 kilometers an hour the other way, and I lost my windshield. Like it just shattered it. It was. I mean, I could still see through it, and we got it replaced when we got back to the States. But I was like, "What are you like? This trailer's like bouncing around the road like this. Like I thought I was gonna hit it."
Complete dumbass. Wow.
Here we go. Just for a little moment of viewing pleasure. Slow down, let her go. She's upset. Nice grizzly mom and cub. People try to tell me I was a black bear. People who don't live where I live and see grizzly bears and black bears all the time. That is not a black bear.
Literally in the clouds.
Here we are driving to work, and
outside Bella Coola.
There you go.
Oh,
that's
giant
a little
boulder
bit
in the middle
foggy.
of the road in the fog.
There's a giant boulder just in the middle.
Yeah, the danger of other traffic, giant boulders, and falling off a 1 kilometer drop down.
And Jordan driving.
Hey. And Jordan driving.
I'm the safest driver here.
I don't know about that.
Fuck
but
y'all.
Safest out of the four of you, maybe. I can't confirm or deny.
Yeah,
right now.
We are in clouds.
Wow. It's a wet one.
Yeah. Go up the ridge crest this way.
fun times with the Quamic crew.
Remember there, you're right near that danger tree, Adam. I should show the followers that danger tree.
Yeah, good times. Good times. And here. Come on. Oh, I already lost it. Anyways, yeah. Lots of fun videos of our firefighting in Bella Coola. Lots of shorts there, so
my wife is afraid of bears and refuses to go backpacking with me in the Cascades. And I keep trying to tell her, like, bears are only a problem if you're stupid.
even then they're hardly ever a problem.
Right. Like, but like you just, I go backpacking in Montana and you just store your food a little ways away from your campsite and you do all the stuff. But I'm way more afraid of moose than I am of bears. Meese, yeah.
I've been a cowboy. I've been a cowboy here in Central BC for 40 years. And I've never had an encounter with a bear while I'm up by myself walking fences, which I do for days every spring. I've seen the hare. I've seen bears watch me from a distance, but I've never had an encounter getting up close to one.
Well, you guys have seen what I do. Is I remove bears from problem places. That's one of the things I like to do. I don't mind.
Yes, because they are barely wanted.
So we had one this fall that was in town a lot, and I took it upon myself to send a message to it. And he was stubborn. He wanted to keep coming back, and he wasn't getting into garbage or nothing like that. But people just kept that. You have to have that line between us and them, so that problems don't happen down the road, right? So maybe he's cool now. But the more that everyone's stopping and taking pictures and giving him the wrong idea that people are kind of cool, yeah, maybe hang around people. Eventually he's going to get into trouble. And he did. This hippie woman left a moose hide out to tan, and the fucking bear stole it and ate it. And I was like, I'm trying to chase this. I was literally going around town throwing rocks at this bear and hollering at it and making noises and chasing it, full on running after it, pushing it out of town every time. And in the middle of me doing that, you just fed it a fucking moose hide. Oh, I was so mad at her.
Right next to where
she said, I don't understand. I prayed over it. What fucking century is this, hippie?
So right next to where I live in Portland is this. It's called Forest Park, and Portland is flanked by hills, and Forest Park is kind of on the side of it. And it's basically an urban wilderness. There's some hiking trails up there, but that's about it. And it goes for probably about like 20 or 30 kilometers, just straight line, and there's well over 100 kilometers of hiking trails. But near our portion of Forest Park, I live 2 blocks from it. There is a black bear. Like, we've seen the bear poop and everything, and I am shocked that this thing doesn't come into the neighborhood and rifle through dumpsters.
Well, he probably comes to the neighborhood lots, and you don't even realize it. Whether he's driving.
Well, yeah, but nobody's because this would be on the Facebook groups, like, oh, something went through my whatever, and I'm genuinely shocked.
What I'm getting at is there's a mother and cub that the conservation officers in Prince George tracked for 8 years. I don't know what happened after that. I assume it went on for a number of years more. That this, who kept repeatedly having cubs, this mother, lived in the city. She never caused no problems, but she was an expert at hiding, not being seen, at recognizing official vehicles of government vehicles, police cars, anything like that. She would, and for 8 years, she never caused no trouble. She lived right in the city raising cubs.
Well, that is acceptable to me. Someday I would like to see this bear from a distance.
A lot of them are much like that. They're a benign species than people realize.
Right. Well,
and animals in general.
I think
animals in general, I'll tell you straight up about the world. And people who watch my, they know this spiel from me. But, someone died from an avalanche here in the Peace last weekend. 10 or 15 a year in BC, that would be normal. If 75 people drown in the rivers in BC every spring and summer, that would be normal. If you look at hypothermia deaths in Canada, on average, well, even 10 people get killed by lightning and 150 seriously wounded every year in Canada. On average, a person has a fatal bear encounter once every 3 years in Canada. It's like
right. So I'm at a.
You start looking at just driving to get to the, we had 4 guys from my company get killed in a fucking traffic accident coming home from a fire this fall, right? And everyone's like, the fires are so dangerous. The most dangerous thing we do all the time is drive halfway across the province.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. I met a guy who is the only guy to have been attacked by a grizzly bear in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, and he was attacked because he took off his bear bells. He was running to train for a marathon. Took off his bear bells because they were annoying him. Came around a corner and there was a grizzly and a cub. And that's just the situation. But we're gonna take off because it is 11:30 or so here.
Time to go. On a last note,
but
bears do not hear much better than we do or any differently. The bear bells. How many times I was in the Rocky Mountains hiking, and then I hear ding, 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 and 3 seconds later, some tourists walk over. The bear bells don't work. What you never want to be doing is going jogging in bear country. Period. So every time someone gets chased by a grizzly bear here, except for the bluff charge that happened to Jen, everyone who gets chased, they're driving their bicycle to go to work at Barkerville or back in the morning, and the bear sees them, goes by and goes, cool. It's like the dog effect. A dog sees you running. It's like
so the bear bells don't work. But what about an air horn?
Bear bells or not, he ran up on that mother. He was fucked.
What about an air horn though? Could you just blow that like every couple minutes and be all right?
You're gonna need like 20 air horns.
Yeah, that's true.
Just don't go jogging in those kind of places, right? So if you want to go jogging around wells, it's like we just do it right in town. Don't need to go jogging.
Well, or just don't jog and don't even
don't be healthy.
You don't have to
I'll
jog.
see a grizzly bear walk outside my house every once in a while in a year. It's been 5 years since I've seen that now. So to be fair, grizzly in front of my house, but it's a reality of our life here. And yet you never see locals wandering around with guns and stuff like that out in the bush, and no one has a problem. Nice. The reality is you're probably going to die falling trees. You're going to, you're running a chainsaw and you're cutting down trees. That's a great way to die. You're going to die in traffic accidents getting to.
Well, you're probably going to die from cardiovascular disease. I mean, that's how like 60% of people.
I'm just talking about in the bush. But certainly any medical distress that happens in the bush, people die because they go into shock or have a heart attack and they're beyond the reach of medical attention and time, right?
But at least you get
bears, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. And the fear of bears spreads the wrong idea about who they are as a species, which is actually, a very interesting animal. That's the show for this week.
All right, have a good one.
Okay.
Good night. You'll see us again soon.
Yeah.
Great to have you guys on.
Come on every week, man.
Yes, it was you'll probably see me most weeks, except probably when I'm working night shift.
Or out of town.
Yeah, I'm out of town right now.
That's true.
But it was a pleasure.
We get everyone's little take on what happened in the week from all over, and it's like, it's rich.
Yes, but I lost my train of thought. So
good night.
Good night.
All right, chugga chugga. I'm saying good night to you, everybody. Bye for now. Hit like, share, subscribe. See you next time. Oh yeah, I hit the end and then I have to hit it again. End meeting for all. I'm like, see you next time.